Zach Buckley, friend of the show of Bleacher Report, this is what he cooked up for a DeMar DeRozan trade that would be, to tie back to our last segment, would be something that would make this team better right now, right? Would it make them contenders? I don't think so, but it would make the team, or depending on what your definition of a contender is, but it would make the team make more sense. The team would make more sense. How about that? All right, so this is the trade, and basically it was one trade that every team would do right now if the deadline was today. That's what he titled, so he has trades for everybody. So for the Kings, he has the trade. John Collins and a 2030 first-round pick, top 10 protected, to the Sacramento Kings for DeMar DeRozan. And he goes on to write, there's surely a joke to be made here about having the Clippers get even older and less dynamic athletically. Still, if LA was worried about having too many 30-somethings on the roster, then why did it spend all offseason bringing in the likes of Brook Lopez, Bradley Beal, and Chris Paul? The Clippers clearly have a finite window to win with Kawhi Leonard and James Harden, so they wouldn't mind the lack of longevity with a 36-year-old DeMar DeRozan. What they would appreciate, though, is his ability to consistently get buckets. And in slower-paced playoff games, an offense featuring Leonard, Harden, DeRozan, and Ivica Zubac should be hard to handle. That top 10 protection would be vital to have on the pick, though, because LA's vets could all be long gone by then. So the kicker to this article, which I think is the most important piece of this potential trade, is that I left something out when I was reading it. Zach Buckley created this trade prior to Bradley Beal being injured. How he really writes it is, and in the slower-paced playoff games, an offense featuring Leonard, Harden, DeRozan, Beal, and Ivica Zubac should be hard to handle. So Beal's gone now. And he was going to give the Kings a 2030 first-round pick, top 10 protected, as well as John Collins, who Draper, big fan. All that drama, whether or not he was a high IQ guy or not, that was the drama, or I guess the rumors coming out of Sacramento with Mike Brown. I guess we'll never know. But what I do know is that Mike Brown ain't the coach no more. He ain't the coach here. He's out there in New York with Timberlands and hard hats. So could this be a way? And you got John Collins on an expiring contract. We've already had Sam Amick call DeMar DeRozan's contract kind of a pseudo expiring contract because next season is not guaranteed. So you'd be trading a non-guaranteed for or an expiring contract for a pseudo expiring contract and getting a first round pick. I'll put it to you like this. When I initially read this, I didn't know why the Clippers would give up a pick even if it was protected, right? But now that Bradley Beal went down, now you could sit there and say, well, you might have to give up that pick and it's probably going to be protected, but that protection might not be as strong as Zach Buckley currently has it. So the Clippers have some decisions to make. They've been bad, right? They have not been good. They've been trying to figure things out. You got a guy, I would say this, you have a guy in DeMar DeRozan who's literally an Iron Man. I'll take it deeper than the conversation of Kawhi, James Harden, Zubac, that crew. I'll take it deeper to that. If Kawhi is back to his old tricks, for lack of a better term, you need somebody to keep your head above water. And DeMar DeRozan is going to be out there every single night. And I'm looking here at the Clippers. Now they've lost 6 straight. They're 3-8. So you can look around, and if the Clippers want to do a deal, because here's the thing. There are other guys and other players that the Clippers could look at to improve their offense, right? Or just get better. Based on the different price, and I don't think they're utilizing John Collins correctly. John Collins has gone, John Collins, his actual role in the NBA is somewhere between what he was on the Jazz and what he was on the Clippers right now, right? He don't need to be taking no 20 shots a game like on the Jazz. That team was not good. It was terrible. But he also doesn't need to be kind of just thrown on the bench, on the back burner, like he's currently what's currently happening to him on the Clippers. And I know he's been starting because of injuries, but that wasn't really the plan for him. And they did play the Nuggets, but they lost 130 to 116. Let's see, John Collins, he played 21 minutes. Okay, he had 2 points, 4 rebounds, no assists. Derrick Jones Jr., it's looking like there was a bit of a blowout because only James Harden eclipsed 30 minutes. He had 23 points, 8 rebounds, 5 assists. So they're trying to figure out who in the world they are, and clearly their offense is lacking a little bit. John Collins is not going to be a second, or I don't even know about a third option for you offensively, but he can fill it up when you least expect it. I think he's a really good fourth option. So James Harden at 30 whatever years old, 36, 37, he's running out there with Derrick Jones Jr., who's not known for his offense, John Collins that can score but is not known for his offense, Zubac, who's got the push shot, Chris Dunn, who is a brick, and that's his starting lineup. That's not going to fly. So you can look around and you know, obviously Cam Christie, he only played 6 minutes, but Jordan Miller, whoever that is, he played 26 minutes. Bogdan Bogdanovic played 20. He had 11 points. He can fill it up. Brook Lopez played 16 minutes. Nicholas Batum played 22. I mean, this is something that clearly makes sense. And it's crazy to me that Buckley wrote this before Beal went down. Because the idea was that DeMar was just going to help out. Now DeMar might be looking at the second. DeMar would be the second option on that team if that trade happened tomorrow. He'd be the second option on that team if that trade happened tomorrow, based on what we're looking at. They have no offense. Now that I'm actually looking at their lineup, obviously they're hoping to it's the same thing, right? They're going to try to get Kawhi back. I don't care what it says on Kawhi's injury report. They're trying to get Kawhi back with about 20 games left in the season. They're trying to be a 6 seed, hopefully, maybe even the top of the play-in, and get Kawhi back. This is what happens with these older teams. So who is going to keep them afloat, keep them above water? Somebody that we know is out there day after day after day, game after game after game. That's DeMar DeRozan. And I do think with the requisite pieces that they have, Derrick Jones Jr., who can defend, Chris Dunn, who can defend, they can make up for some of the things that DeMar may lack defensively. You space the floor out. I know Brook Lopez hasn't played well. You got Bogdan, you got Batum who can defend. I think this makes a lot of sense for the Clippers. I thought it made a level of sense with Bradley Beal. It definitely makes sense right now, Ramsey, and I haven't even brought up the LA thing. So I'm only talking about this on the Clippers side of things. When it comes to the Kings side of things, I think that John Collins can be that 4. And then you can move Keegan back to the 3. You can make a decision if you're the Kings, if you want to extend John Collins or just let the 20 whatever million dollars expire and say, hey, that was cool. We're going to go out. We're going to get somebody. Maybe we're just not going to get somebody. Whatever they want to do, the Sacramento Kings, but it would make them better this season. That goes back to what my question was last segment. Do they want to get better? Is it just tank or stay as is? Which is, I guess, both versions of tanking, but one would be blow up during the season, and the other side would be to just exist as we are and get to the end of the season. I don't know. But this makes sense. And I guess this could scratch both itches because of the expiring contract of John Collins. Because you can make this deal and then maybe it works. And with the flattened odds, you still are going to have a chance at Tankathon to get one of the top 3 picks. But unless you make the playoffs, of course. But let's say they mess around, he's good enough to get into the play-in, they don't get into the playoffs, and then you say, cool, we got our top 3 pick, John Collins, thank you, we are not going to renew you, we're not going to extend you, so then John Collins rides off into the sunset. Or it works, they sneak into the 8 seed, and they want to build on this. So I think it gives a lot of optionality to the Kings roster in the short term, and it's something that they could look to do. And if you're the Clippers, I know Steve Ballmer prints money, and we ain't going to get into all that, but you're still that Intuit Dome, you're still trying to put seats in there. I think DeMar DeRozan coming home for a version, I don't even want to call it a swan song because he's still performing at a high level. He's been balling out this season. I think Frankie Carcelli said yesterday he's shooting the three ball at 40%. Not high volume, but at 40%. He's been very balanced this season, I feel like. I didn't feel like he was shooting the three ball that well. I thought that his volume would pick up, but hey, if you're shooting it at 40, what's the point? So I think that this deal makes a ton of sense for both sides. The Kings are helping out Keegan right now. Now, I don't know that you still need Precious, right? The roster don't make any sense right now anyway, but it definitely wouldn't make sense if you added John Collins and didn't move on from the Precious. You would just have a lot of similar guys, but maybe you would say, hey, no, we got Precious for when it's more of a defensive-focused lineup. We got John Collins when it's more offensive-focused. We're getting Keegan back. So we don't mind. Allen, this was the problem. We didn't have enough bigger guys, and now we do, so we ain't going to get rid of them. So I think this gives a lot of optionality based on how you feel about John Collins versus how you feel about DeMar DeRozan. It does feel like the writing is on the wall, and this is all with the caveat of if they start winning, and if they start winning quickly, then yeah, this stuff goes away. But as of right now, as I'm doing a show at 12:15 on November 14th, they're on a 4-game losing streak. So that's just where it is.
And the Clippers are on a 6-game losing streak.
That's just what it is.
Both teams are struggling looking for answers. As I personally said, sorry, Drapes, I've never been the biggest John Collins fan.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know if I see the personal fit myself. He's actually about the same size, if not a little smaller than Keegan Murray.
Yeah, he is.
They got him listed at 6'8", 225.
Yeah.
Which I think is probably about 10 to 15 pounds smaller than Keegan Murray. Because I think Keegan Murray goes about 235, 240.
Yeah.
Truth be told. And
it would give them switching options, though, and Keegan could play the 3. Maybe you have to leave Keegan at 4, but he's not the only pure 4.
Yeah,
and he's
he's
not even a pure 4. We don't have a pure 4.
No. Plus, as the article states from Zach Buckley, he's talking about 30-year-old. I mean, he brought it up, 30-year-olds, and talking about the slower pace offense.
Mm-hmm.
Take out the name Bradley Beal at the moment. Even though he hasn't got playing time in the past couple games, put Chris Paul in that sentence, because Chris Paul would be hard to handle, because he'd slow that offense would be so slow. Even with Chris Paul in it, it'd be definitely hard to handle in a half court set if they moved John Collins for DeRozan, which
sounds like you're saying, because you like DeRozan,
yes,
right, and I like him too, but I'm just saying in a basketball sense, sounds like you think that the Clippers would get much better than the Kings would.
They would get better.
I think they both would get better.
I don't know.
And if you're getting a first round pick, this is a no-brainer to me.
I mean, if they give you a pick, yeah.
Without the pick, I'd probably still do it, because I think, here's the argument though. I think the John Collins fit is still better than DeRozan right now. DeRozan with Levine. Always remember, when I'm talking about DeRozan, he's kind of the odd man out, because we just spent time talking about Sabonis, and we know what it is with Zach in that contract. So he's really the only one with somewhat of a movable contract.
I mean, and we know the contract's non-guaranteed next season.
Yes.
It's like partially guaranteed next season.
It's odd man out.
I understand that part.
It's odd man out versus I want to move DeRozan. If Zach was on 20 whatever, you'd be cooking. But if Zach was even on 30 whatever, then it would be different. But he's making $47 million. So, and what we do know is that the 3 of them right now have not worked. That's what we do know. So if you are looking for this to work, or if you are hashtag T-word and hashtag tank, then you just let it fly. You just keep doing what they're doing now.
And I mean, in terms of the Clippers, I don't know about John Collins, but I take a couple other pieces off the Clippers and potentially put them on the Kings roster, and I'm led to believe the Kings would get better. I mean, I know he's less money. I take Derrick Jones Jr. in a heartbeat.
I would too. We talked about making that money match, though.
And I'd honestly know nothing against it. I take Brook Lopez. Because here's the thing that you wouldn't have to be concerned with. You wouldn't be concerned with spacing, because all Brook Lopez has been known for, or at least in the years in Milwaukee with Giannis, he was the rim protector, and all he wants to do is camp out on the three-point line. He does not want to get in the post.
I got one for you. And I know you got your faves. I know you #don't take, but this isn't taking. Just hear me out. Would you do? Because I'm looking at the money. It would be about $3 million difference they could find it, right? So now I'm putting my guy on the table. We put your guy, DeRozan. I'll put my guy on the table. Derrick Jones Jr. and Brook Lopez, who Brook Lopez has not been playing well. And maybe this is too much. Maybe you got to go Devin Carter as well, right? Derrick Jones Jr. and Brook Lopez for Malik Monk, and call it Devin Carter. You know what I mean? Call it whatever you want to give him a little something else.
You'd lose a lot of offense there. You'd lose a bunch of offense. You'd lose a bunch of offense.
You got to move somebody. Which one you like better? I'm treating you. Which one you like better? How about that?
I mean, if I had to choose between the two, unfortunately, it's the Debo trade for John Collins.
Thank you.
If I had to choose between the two.
We got the process of elimination.
Neither one of them are that great, in my opinion.
I think they both would help the Kings a ton. And Derrick Jones Jr., what? He would be finishing up with Zach. That's only 2 years. Both of them, actually. Derrick Jones Jr. and Brook Lopez would both fit that 2027 timeline, and then you go from there. Brook Lopez on a 2-year deal, that's kind of crazy. 37 years old.
Yeah, I mean, and like I said, if we're talking offensively with Sabonis, I feel it would work because, again, all he wants to do is camp out on the 3-point line, and he could be defensive anchor behind Sabonis. That's the two things that you ask for if you want another big to play against Sabonis, someone that won't clog the paint on offense, and that will help Sabonis behind him. Because no disrespect to Sabonis, he's not a shot blocker.
Yeah,
and we know that.
No, I don't think. That's not a dig on him. He's not.
No, it's not a dig. We're just pointing out what his profile, or as they say in basketball terms, his archetype is. He's not a shot blocker.
Yeah, Brook Lopez, Stanford guy. Come on home.
He'd be 2 hours from home. He's originally from Fresno.
Yeah. Look, man, those are two. I think that's why how the Kings go about this is going to be really, really interesting to watch, because there are going to be pieces that Scott Perry will have available to make this team better. Does he want to do that? Or does he want to just survive and get to the offseason and it sounds messed up to say it this way, but preserve their draft status, right? I think it's a timeline. I think that he's going to, because as much as you want to preserve your draft status, Vivek don't want to watch what he's been watching. So where is that balance? If you're looking at it like a seesaw, where is that balance where the conversation becomes, hey, let's make a couple fringe moves to improve, but just know, and I know the flattened odds do matter. Look at the Mavericks, but we can make a couple moves here or there to keep butts in the seats, but we cannot trick off the 2026 draft position. Where does that balance come in? Now, if they dig themselves enough of a hole, then it won't matter. I think that's the thing, right? If they don't figure this thing out, and then we get to the end of December or even middle of December, and they make that John Collins move, even though the schedule lightens up, they probably still won't make the playoffs. So maybe that's another tinfoil hat Scott Perry situation where it's, hey, yeah, let's get better, and here's a move to get better, when really it's, here you go, DeMar, you're getting an opportunity to play with the team with a higher profile, you're getting to go home, and we are going to get better, but the chances of us actually making it to the playoffs and messing up our draft position, not that realistic, right? Not that realistic. Pam, we see you. You will kick off our next segment, and when we get to the next segment, let's talk about Zach LaVine and our expectations for the sharpshooter. Alan Stiles, Sactown Sports.